Hello, welcome to this candidate forum sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Marin County. I'm Susan Stomp, and joining me today is Margie Eller as our timekeeper. There are 3 candidates running for 1 seat with a 4-year term for the Ross Valley Sanitary District 1. They are Doug Kelly, Scott Pinsky, Mary Silla, and the candidates have been invited to make an opening statement of 2 minutes each. We will begin with Doug Kelly.
Well, thank you very much. And first off, I want to thank the League of Women Voters and my colleagues for coming here. I do want to advise that there are actually 2 seats available. So 3 candidates for 2 seats.
Okay.
My name's Doug Kelly. I currently serve on the board of directors of the San Anselmo Chamber of Commerce. And I also serve on the MIRA board, Marin Emergency Radio Authority. Previously, I've served on San Anselmo Park and Rec for 8 years. I was elected chair 3 times, and I was on the San Anselmo Town Council. First off, I'm sorry, I'm a 25-year resident of Marin, 20 years in San Anselmo. My theme really for this campaign is governance. I want to say that I think the recent board and the general manager have been doing a fine job. I endorsed many of them, including Mary, and still do, when they ran originally. I think they've really turned things around. But the problems with the Ross Valley Sanitary District go back a long time, and they're going to take a long time to resolve. What was missing some time ago, and is there now, but I'm simply looking to add my voice to that, is governance, to really overlook the agency and to watch it closely. I have a history of doing that and not listening to staff and accepting everything they say. As a member of the ABAG board in Marin, I was well noted for working very hard to change that agency. In fact, I think that working with Pat Eklund and many other members of councils and mayors in Marin, we did such a great job that that's one of the reasons we think MTC is looking to take them over, is that ABAG was actually changing. We were governing, we were doing our job. I did the same thing at Park and Rec, where we took a look at why we were losing so much money at Parkside Preschool. We changed it from losing $25,000 to making $75,000. I did the same thing with the Central Marin Police Ordinance for social hosting, which was very unpopular. My job was to look at the bill that was written, change it a little bit, and I did that, although it kind of hurt me, but it was my job to make sure that it was just tweaked.
Thank you. Scott Pinsky.
Hello, my name is Scott Pinsky. I live in Marin and work in Marin. I'm a realtor with Allen Pinnell Realtors. I'm also an attorney in private practice. I've been an attorney for over 30 years and a real estate broker licensed in California for 10 years. In my capacities as attorney and realtor, I believe I have a unique perspective to bring to the Sanitary District Board, in that I work with clients who are homeowners and residents of the community. And I understand and get a direct perspective on the kinds of issues that they encounter as residents of the community, as ratepayers in the community, and the difficulties that they encounter in terms of complying with regulations, such as the kinds of ordinances that are enacted through this board. As Mr. Kelly correctly noted, I believe there have been some serious concerns over the last several years with management and governance at the district. I also agree that the last couple of years of management at the district have been a tremendous turnaround, and that the direction of the board and the district generally has turned into a very favorable direction. One of the recent ordinances that many of you are aware of is the sewer lateral ordinance, and as a member of the realtor community, I'm well aware of the issues that that's created. I'd like to work toward a way that we can balance environmental protection, which is the goal of the ordinance, with a system of enforcement that alleviates hardships on homeowners in the district. So I will be looking at that, and also looking at consolidation and coordination among districts. As some of you may know, there are numerous sanitary districts in Marin County, And I'd like to work toward a way that we can find efficiencies to lower the cost of service and still provide great service to the residents of Marin. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary?
Thanks. I'm Mary Silla, and I'm running for a second term on the Ross Valley Sanitary District Board of Directors. It's been my pleasure to serve as your representative over the past 4 years, and I'd be honored to have a second term. I'm a Ross Valley native. I grew up in San Anselmo and Kentfield, attending Wade Thomas Red Hill Junior High School, and I'm a 1985 graduate of Redwood High School. I'm a lawyer with a master's degree in public health, and I understand the important role that sanitary districts play in the public's health and safety. I first became aware of the Ross Valley Sanitary District in 2005 when 4,000 gallons of sewage spilled into my own home during the floods. I first attended an RVSD meeting in 2006, and the board at that time could at best be described as dysfunctional. In 2012, when I decided to run for the board, the RVSD was even more notorious. It was subject to regulatory fines for spilling sewage into our waterways. It was involved in high-profile litigation and open disputes with other public agencies. It was run by a beleaguered general manager who would ultimately face criminal charges for the misuse of public funds. Much has improved since then. With new leadership and management, the district has emerged from negative notoriety to become a recognized leader in the wastewater management industry in California. We're fiscally solvent, and we're planning for long-term infrastructure improvements. We are free from regulatory sanctions, and we have a plan to cover unforeseen emergency work in the future. I ran 4 years ago to improve the leadership and management of the district. I have delivered on that promise, and I seek a second term to continue the work of improving our sewer system infrastructure through sound management. I respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you. Now for the questions. The candidates will have 90 seconds to respond, and we'll start with Scott. And the question is, please comment on the district's draft strategic plan.
Well, I believe the strategic plan, which was considered at recent meetings of the district board, is an excellent first step. I think one of the outgrowths of the audit that was done by the state of California in connection with the strategic plan was one of the outgrowths of that audit was actually a move toward establishing long-range planning. I think there were problems both with short-term planning and management as well as long-term planning at the district. The audit identified a lot of those issues, and I've looked at the strategic plan document, and it looks like I think a very sound starting point for getting the district on the right path for the future.
Thank you, Mary.
Oh, I'm proud to say that I was part of putting together the strategic plan. The district had not had a strategic plan previously, and coming from the nonprofit world where I've done strategic plans for years, you sort of have to dream it before you can do it. The district is now so financially sound that it has the opportunity to dream about where it wants to go. And one thing that I think was really important about where we've gotten with the strategic plan is that we do want to be thought leaders. The Ross Valley Sanitary District staff and board want to be thought leaders in wastewater management here in California. Instead of rushing around trying to fix every pipe as if everything is an emergency, which was something that was said in the previous campaign, we're actually in a position where we can think strategically about where we want to be in the coming years. So I think it's a good start. Like all strategic plans, it's a living document, it's a work in progress. The staff put in a lot of effort on it, and I think it's got us going in the right direction also.
Thank you. Doug.
Thank you. Yes, it's a good plan. It is an excellent change and an example of how the board has changed things. There's 200 miles of pipe owned by the district. There's about 200 miles of laterals. You've got about 9,000, 1,500 pipe fittings. So there's an awful lot of equipment there. And one of the things the strategic plan looked at is what needs to be changed and where and how. So it turns out about 15% or 30 miles of the piping is 70% of the risk. So what's been done with this plan is really an attempt to evaluate which of that is the highest priority. And of course, near schools, near creeks would be a higher priority than in a parking lot, if you will. So I think the idea of asset management, fiscal responsibility, and openness has been done very well in the strategic plan. It's really a 2-year plan, and it is a living document, and I think it's a great start. All of us were at that meeting when that was adopted, and I certainly support it. I think it's a great job.
Thank you. The next question will be answered by Mary first. How would you describe the financial condition of the district, and how available are district audited financial statements?
The district audited financial statements are public documents, so they're fully available. We every year have an audit by an independent auditor. The district's finances are in excellent shape. That was not true 4 years ago. We have gone out for bonds so that we can do the work that we needed to do. When I was the president of the board, which was the second year of my term, and Greg Norby had become our general manager, I took him on sort of a roadshow to the other elected entities who would be able to support us or oppose us in going out for bonds and ultimately raising our rates to make sure we had the finances to do what we wanted to do. And the main point that I made was that because we had a cease and desist order from the Regional Water Quality Board, we didn't have a choice about when to get our finances in order or whether to get our finances in order. We had to do it right away because we had to tell the State Regional Water Quality Board what we were going to do to prevent sewage spills in the future. I remember particularly going to the San Anselmo Town Council, and Tom McInerney was the mayor at the time, and I made that point. And Tom, as a lawyer, also really heard the point that we needed to do it or we were going to be subject to more fines. So we're in good shape now. I would say a future goal, and this is something that we discuss at the board level, is more of a pay-as-you-go model, meaning that we're taking in money and then we're able to pay and not have to bond so much, although it's a good plan to bond also because these are assets that are going to be under the ground for years and years and years. So it makes sense to bond for that infrastructure management.
Thank you. Doug?
Yes, the finances are in good shape, and that is a result of recent changes. Greg's doing a great job, as is the board. The labor changes recently have been great. Again, previously they had terms of service that were out of line, including $300 a month health clubs. That's been changed. That's great. The state audit and the grand jury reports were addressed. And so I think they're in very good shape right now. And yeah, there'll have to be another bond measure probably in January or February of 2017. But another option, of course, is state revolving funds. That's an option that's on the table. One of the benefits of state revolving funds, which is really a federal program to state and then issued locally, is there's no transaction fees and the costs are about half. But they're kind of onerous reporting, and so there's always benefits, and that'll have to be looked at. A bond might make sense. Using state revolving funds at that time might make sense too. These are assets that aren't very sexy, and yet they have to be done. We've heard across the country about the lack of infrastructure maintenance and how our infrastructure is falling down, and that's true. This is one of the oldest districts, and many of the pipes, it really was the first, I think, many of the pipes are 100 years old in certain areas. So we've got to get this done. It costs money, and I certainly support either bonds or state revolving funds to do that.
Thank you. Scott?
I agree with the prior answers. Based on what I've seen, the district has come back from literally the brink. I mean, there was a period just recently where the district was essentially needing to obtain emergency funds from the county just to continue operating. I think those days are gone, and the current board has put the district on good footing with the $30 million bond in, I believe it was 2014. Also, the 5-year escalation of ratepayer rates that has been implemented, and we're in the middle of that. So we have a couple of more years, I think, where the rates will continue to rise. What that means, of course, is two things. It means additional income to the district. It also means that the ratepayers are paying more. So my attention will be addressed to making sure that the district has the funds that are required to operate, to do the infrastructure work that Doug has referred to correctly that needs to be done, but at the same time trying to make sure from the consumer standpoint that costs stay in line and that we continue to work toward making everything as efficient and cost effective as we can so that we don't continue to have to raise rates indefinitely.
Thank you. The next question will be answered by Doug first. How well informed is the district about the condition of its pipes and other infrastructure features?
Well, actually, they're doing a fine job. There are different measures, including there's devices put on manhole covers that check sewage flow. One of the things that's interesting is that the Central Marin Sanitation Authority bills based on water flow, and until recently there really wasn't an independent measure by the district to know how much their water flow is, but they're doing a lot better job. There's more technology there. What we need to do technologically is to get the customer database put together, and that's an area where we would look at perhaps sharing services, something I'm very familiar with and have worked hard on in the past. Whether we merge with other districts or not can come down the road. What we need to do right away is share some services. And SCADA is a software that's cloud-based and is able to be used in the field. That's currently used by some other districts, so we're looking at perhaps using that and sharing the costs of that. That will assist, but I think they do have a good beginning handle and are working in the right direction on knowing their infrastructure, and thus the 15% or 30 miles that are the 70% of the risk. So they're aware of that, and it's going in the right direction.
Thank you. Scott?
I would agree. From the understanding that I have, the district has a very good handle on where some of the problem areas are. One of the things that Doug just referred to, the smart meter program, which is just getting rolled out, is a technology that enables district staff to know ahead of time if there's going to be a problem in a certain location, because this is a real-time, 24-hour monitored technology that's being implemented. There needs to be, I think, a wider use of those smart meters on the manhole covers to be truly a system-wide phenomenon, but they're working toward that. So I think the state of knowledge, or the level of the district staff's awareness of the system and the problems in the system is good. One area I'll go back to again is the sewer lateral issue, and that is the connection between homes and the district's sewer lines. Those connections vary from house to house, and the state of knowledge about those is not within the purview of the district because they don't test those. And so those are being addressed through the sewer lateral ordinance, and I think over time we'll come to know a little bit better about the state of those as homes continue to go through the process of the sewer lateral review process.
Thank you. Mary?
Oh, we know a lot about the condition of our pipes because we've been closed circuit televisioning them. We call it CCTVing them for some years. I mean, even when I was elected in 2012, we had about 50% of the system CCTV'd. At that time, the district wasn't really doing very much with that information. They were still just repairing things based on sort of a sense that everything needed to be repaired at once. What we've done is put that data into the infrastructure asset management plan. We've prioritized the pipe replacement. So we really know more probably about our pipes than many other sanitary districts in the state, although the regulators are coming and they're going to make everybody go down and CCTV their pipes and figure out how to fix them. So we're in really great shape in that sense. We have our data, we have our plan. Doug has made a couple references to how much we needed to fix. In fact, at one point, Greg Norby said to me, if we figured out if we went and fixed this 5% of the pipes, we would reduce our spills by 50%. And that was when I was the president of the board, and I said, great, Greg, go fix those 5%, please. So we're in a really good shape in terms of what we know about our pipes. Scott makes a great point about the laterals. So, I mean, you wouldn't design a system like this if you wanted to design a rational system. Every homeowner on their property has their own little sewer lateral that connects into a main that connects into our bigger system. The Ross Valley Sanitary District has responsibility and only has control over the mains in the streets, the bigger system. We don't have control over that little pipe. And so what we've done with the sewer lateral ordinance that he's referred to is make a real effort to try to incentivize people to fix their laterals as well.
Thank you. The next question will be answered by Scott first. What is your understanding of the current projects under construction, including expected completion dates?
Well, my understanding, and I don't have encyclopedic knowledge of this, is that there is a replacement and a retrofit program. As far as exactly when that will be completed, I don't know. I know that the bond that was obtained a couple of years ago for $30 million is in large part designed to work toward the replacement retrofit objective. And my understanding is that a portion of that $30 million is used each year for the past couple of years and the coming couple of years to work progressively toward getting the system completed, the repairs and the retrofits completed over time. As far as specific dates, I can't say that I know that.
Mary?
We have packages of work that are being done. We planned it out. We told the State Regional Water Quality Board what we were going to do and when, and we started with the worst of the worst. And we're because we have this plan of fixing the worst of the worst in order to prevent sewage spills. You know, we're progressing in a very rational manner. I mean, I as well don't know exactly the dates of when things are going to be done, but that has to do with how much I trust our staff and how reliable they have been. We've hit everything on target in terms of time and budget, with some very rare variances on that, and it usually had to do with conditions of collaborating with other folks. For example, up Doherty Drive, we collaborated with the work that the City of Larkspur and the school was doing. We've been able to collaborate with the City of San Anselmo in terms of paving. So I would say, our projects are proceeding in a way that meets the requirements of the State Regional Water Quality Board and in a way that collaborates with other governmental entities, and I'm really proud of that. That did not used to happen.
Thank you. Doug?
Well, I'm not going to get into the details because they've been answered. Sir Francis Drake was done on time, maybe a little bit late, but it was a good project. I want to talk a little bit about paving and working collaboratively with other agencies, something I worked on when I was on San Anselmo Town Council. And San Anselmo does a very, very fine job with this. And what we have is paving moratoriums, and let me explain that program. If you're going to have major work done, the town would look at other agencies like PG&E and the Ross Valley Sanitary District and the Marin Municipal Water District, and they would try and get all the work done at once. And then after that, pave the road and have a paving moratorium. And what that means is you have maybe 5 years where if you have to replace your sewer lateral, which not only is on your property but typically goes into the road to meet the link for the main pipe, you'd have to pay a very higher cost to get that paving done way better. You're not allowed to just patch it. You'd have to really improve the road in that area. And that seems onerous, but what's happening, and it's actually working very well, is advanced knowledge of that fact is being given to all of the people on that town. And so what we're encouraging people to do is replace their laterals, not just at the $75,000 limit. If you're doing $75,000 worth of work, you have to replace. If you're selling, you have to replace. If they're damaged, I'm sorry, only if they're damaged. But by doing this, we're getting people to replace their laterals before that. And it's been going from about 150 per year to now 600 per year. It's a great program. We want to expand that.
Thank you. Mary, you'll be first to answer the next one. What is the status of finalizing new inventory controls as required by the state audit report?
That is down in the weeds, and that was one of the requirements of the state audit, was that we improve our inventory controls. There are a few things that are what I would consider legacies of Brett Richards and the former administration. There was not very simple, if you take something out and use it, you need to somehow mark that so we know where our equipment is, the kind of equipment that's used for clearing out the pipes. So we have completed that. That was one of those items in the state audit that was very easy to check off. And we've referred to the state audit, but I'll explain a little bit about it just in case viewers don't know. It was something, there's this new state audit department at the state level where an entity can ask basically for its audit. And we initiated that audit. It was actually when Frank Egger was president. He said there is this new legislative audit committee, and we should ask that the Ross Valley Sanitary District be audited so that folks can have more confidence in us. And this was when we were beginning to feel like we were getting back on course. And when I was president, we moved that forward. We had the support of Mark Levine, and it turned out to be a really wonderful thing for the Ross Valley Sanitary District because folks from the state came down and looked at everything we did. And one of the other benefits of it, besides inventory control, was just getting us to put in policy good activities that we were doing so that a practice could actually be formalized in a policy so that it would continue and everyone knew what the policy was. So we have dealt with the inventory control and other issues related to the state audit.
Thank you. Doug?
They're making progress, but this is why I think I would be a good fit for the board, because I'm a business owner. And there's a lot of areas of expertise. Tom Gaffney is incredibly great at finance, and Mary is an attorney. She has great insight into many areas that are very important. As a business owner, we do inventory things. Things don't leave without an invoice for us. That's just common business practices. One of the things about the Ross Valley Sanitary that's causing a little bit of a slow advance on the inventory asset management is they don't have great software. And again, maybe it's SCADA, which is the name of a product produced by Fujitsu that other districts are using that we share, or maybe a different software would be considered. So that's coming up. So they're making progress. But I think a business owner's voice on the board would be a very good addition to the four that are there.
Thank you. Scott?
From everything I've been led to understand, the conclusion that Mary's given a moment ago about the state of inventory control is accurate, and I think things are in pretty good shape. I don't know of any particular pressing issue on that front. I would like to go back 1 minute, though, to the budget issue and talk about the fact that I don't know that it's been raised yet by any of us today, but it's an issue that should be of interest, I think, to the viewers, and I don't know if there will be a question on this or not, but that is the question of the lateral program loan and grant opportunities that homeowners can avail themselves of. In addition to creating an ordinance that requires the laterals to be tested either at the point of sale or in the event of a permit of $75,000 or more, and there are other instances where it applies as well. The district, fortunately, in my opinion, established a program where homeowners can either borrow funds or actually be reimbursed for some portion of their sewer lateral work if they apply and if their application is accepted and successful. I think that's a great program. I think that program should be expanded and enlarged if the funding can support that, and that would be one of the budgetary items that I would like to see addressed.
Thank you. The next question will go to Doug first. Doug, what is the status of the adoption of written accounting policies and monitoring compliance by the district?
That is in very good shape. There have been changes in staffing. There have been changes in the accounting department. The changes in the accounting department are extremely recent. That was planned. And so they are following the state audit and the grand jury audit. So I think they're doing a great job on that.
Thank you. Scott?
I agree. I don't think there's a lot that needs to be said on that point. The audit was an extraordinary circumstance. I don't think you could find too many instances where a public agency brings scrutiny upon itself, and kudos to Mary and other members of the board who made that happen. And the result of the audit has been an entire sea change in terms of the way that finances and management and administration generally are handled at the district. I think they're completely going the right direction, and more power to them, and I'd like to have an opportunity, if elected, to continue that progress.
Thank you. Mary?
Again, it's something that the audit asked us to do, make sure that our financial policies were in order, and I think by practice we were probably doing a pretty good job, but it's always good to put things in policy. One other thing I'll say about an effect of the state audit, which has real budgetary implications, was we were handed a document that said that some of our staff, or the represented staff, were above market. And this was right as we were going into a labor negotiation with our union, which we've just concluded in the past month. So what it did was it gave our labor negotiator the opportunity to go in and say, here is a public entity, a state entity saying that the wages are too high. And it was a wonderful place to start in terms of bringing us back into fiscal responsibility. Another legacy of the Brett Richards era, he personally had negotiated with the labor union a 6-year contract that gave quite astounding raises, including a 5% pay increase every year, regardless of performance to the staff members. So the state audit did that for us. In addition to financial procedures, it really benefited the ratepayers in terms of financial management and savings more broadly.
Thank you. Scott, you'll answer the next one first. How is General Manager Greg Norby doing, in your opinion?
I've seen Greg in action at a number of board meetings. I think he's doing a terrific job. He came into a position that had a significant cloud over it for obvious reasons that I think anyone who's followed the news in the last few years is aware of. As has been referred to earlier, there were problems with management at the district that led all the way to criminal prosecution and a civil action for reimbursement of funds that were granted to the predecessor. Greg is a breath of fresh air. I completely support everything I've seen from his performance so far. I think he has a terrific ability to confront issues, to deal with them in a professional and appropriate manner. It seems to me that he has the support of most, if not all, of the current sitting members of the board. The staff seems to be extremely positive about him and have a lot of respect for him. I find him an easy guy to work with and talk to, so I would be pleased to have an opportunity to be in a position to work with Greg.
Thank you, Mary.
For all of the credit that an elected person or the board of the Ross Valley Sanitary District can take for how things have changed, it really is all because of Greg Norby. He is a fantastic manager, a really nice guy. I think, as former director Peter Sullivan said, he's a rare combination of an engineer with great people skills. So I'm proud that I was part of the interim general manager search committee that first recruited and interviewed him. I think the ratepayers of the Ross Valley owe him a huge debt of gratitude. He really has turned the district around. For example, at the very first Regional Water Quality Board meeting that he went to, he turned them from saying, you have to do all of this, which had been laid out by the previous board and the previous general manager, which actually did not make sense in terms of prioritizing pipe work, to once they realized what his capacity was, and once they realized he really wanted to go figure out what the highest priority problems were and fix those pipes first, they gave him the opportunity to wait a couple more months to get back to them about exactly how he was going to fix the problem. So he's a remarkable person. He has reorganized the staff. He has negotiated a new labor contract, or led that, and I think we're just really lucky to have him.
Thank you. Doug?
Well, I think Mary said it well. Greg has done a great job, and he did it under exceptionally trying times. I took the time to meet with Greg privately, and I'm really impressed with him and his intellect. He's got great skills, people skills, technical skills, and managerial skills, which comes to what does the board do? And the answer is the beginning of what I was saying here. It's governance. In fact, I really enjoyed our ABAG representative, but we had to govern and direct, and that's the job of the board. I want to be very clear that none of the board members were on the board. I don't believe any of them. Certainly Mary wasn't, Tom wasn't, I don't think any of them were. When the 6-year contract was negotiated by Brett Richards, where was the board? I mean, that's just, you know, there were so many things. There was an email that I was told about from Brett to other districts that was incredibly unprofessional. It's the board's job to oversee these things. And that's what I'm asking for the voters to do, is to allow me to join these board members. They've been doing a great job. My meeting with Greg was extremely helpful, very informative, and I think that one of the most important things is he's changing the character of the organization. If we want to consolidate or share services, it's really important that the other districts want to share with us. I mean, you know, you got to be the fun kid in the toolbox, in the playpen. And so he's got a great skill to work with other agencies, with the local towns and the public works directors, and I fully support him.
Thank you. The next question, Mary will be answering first. What are some of the major changes in the wastewater utility industry?
One of them, I think the biggest one, it's very overarching, and it was something that Greg told me in my second year in office. He said, what I don't think everybody realizes is that the regulatory scheme in which sanitary districts operate has completely changed in the past 10 years. Prior to the Clean Water Act, prior to a rule that says no sewage in public waterways, I think sanitary districts just sort of did their best. It's underground pipes. Nobody really wants to think about what happens after the toilet gets flushed. It was sort of an underserviced utility. But then the Clean Water Act said you shall not spill sewage into the waterways, and that was what was happening when systems were not well maintained. So the world changed completely, and the districts now need to change completely. And when we were starting to deal with the Regional Water Quality Board's requirements of the cease and desist order, we were told by our consultants, yes, it's a lot of work, yes, it's a lot of money, but everybody, every little district in the state is going to have to come up to this sooner or later, might as well be sooner. And technologically, we're in a very interesting time where materials are better, technology is better. Doug made a reference to it. We now have these manhole covers that have a sensor on it where if it is just about to flood, it will text our chief engineer, and then he can do something about it before we actually have sewage spilling out of a manhole cover. So
Thank you.
we're doing well.
Thank you, Doug.
That's right. It's going in the right direction. One of the things that sewer districts across the country are doing is they're really looking at ionized inflow and infiltration. Infiltration is the cracks in pipes, whether they're owned by the sanitary district or cracks in pipes at the sewer laterals from the homeowners. Inflow would be other areas where perhaps somebody's made an illegal roof gutter drain and put it into the sewer district rather than going into the street drains that are supposed to be for that. The reason this is so much of a problem is up to 40% of the district's water that's treated shouldn't be there. And it also causes a real problem during flood times. Just because it's pouring and flooding, it should not change what's in our pipes. It does change, and that's because of the ionized. And the future is coming where those ionized are really, they want to get it down as low as possible and not have the districts. Here's what's happening. You have 40% of fresh rainwater being pumped through our 9 pumping stations to the end of the pipe where the Central Marin Sanitation is treating it and putting it out in the bay. And what we're doing is we're treating fresh, clean rainwater. That's got to stop. The other things that are coming in the future, and we're working on this, Ross Valley Sanitary just working on this, is greater knowledge of what to put in the toilet. No Q-tips, why are we treating those? That's where the future is coming, is to educate the public, because the customer can make a huge difference in the costs of the service.
Thank you. Scott?
Some of the new technologies have already been referred to. The smart meters that I think all of us have addressed is a technology that will enable the district to prevent overflows ahead of time, to get into the situation while there's still time to prevent a significant problem. So that's a change. Also, the attention that Mary referred to groundwater contamination is a new trend, a new change, and has required new ordinances, and that's where the sewer lateral ordinance comes from, at least in the Ross Valley. So you have a situation now where we all have to be aware of what it is that we are doing, both individually and collectively, to cause problems with our groundwater becoming contaminated. It's a problem that we all have a concern to avoid, and we all have an interest in it, and therefore I think it's appropriate that we all participate in the solutions. We participate collectively in terms of the Valley, the Ross Valley District's replacement of broken pipes that they control, but we also have to participate through the sewer lateral program, and that's why I think we really need to focus on ways that we can alleviate hardships for homeowners when we are replacing those lateral pipes, because they are a source of contamination.
Thank you. The next question Doug will be answering first. Marin has 13 sanitary districts. Can you see consolidation of districts providing efficiencies, lower administrative costs and board costs?
Well, thank you. Certainly. And I want to be very clear. I've worked on consolidation. I had a small role in the consolidation of the Central Marin Police Department when that happened with Twin Cities and San Anselmo. I did play a role in further consolidating our Central Marin Police with our Sheriff's Dispatching Service, and also played a role on the Fire Board, the Ross Valley Fire Board, consolidating with sharing services with the Kentfield Fire Protection District. Battalion chiefs is what we did. We shared battalion chiefs. So I have a history of doing that, and I support it. The issue is that not all of the districts right now are perfectly mergeable. There's some different moving parts. Ross Valley has 40 full-time employees. I think Southern San Rafael has 8 full-time because they use public works people. So it's something that I think we should work on. What I want to start with, and I think is important, is shared services. You can save an awful lot of money with shared services, and down the road merge with those that are appropriate. The key factors are the following. You want to have great service, better service when you have a consolidation or a sharing of services, and you want to lower the costs for the ratepayer. If you can lower the cost by merging services and you therefore lower your admin costs, that's fantastic. But you can also share accounting costs. There's many ways to do it.
Thank you. Scott?
This has been one of the issues that I've been focused on in my campaign up to this point. It's really a twofold question as I see it. You've got issues of consolidation and you have issues of consistency. And in some respects, they overlap and they're the same question. In other instances, they're not. With all of the independent districts that we have independent regulations in each of them. And a homeowner in Mill Valley has one set of regulations that they might have to comply with in terms of their connection to the sewer system, and a resident of San Rafael may have a different set of regulations, and a resident in the Ross Valley yet a third, and so on and so forth. So each of these districts, each of these entities, fiefdoms, can set its own guidelines, and they do. And therefore, it is a bit of a confusion, I think, for homeowners. You have people who live literally next door to one another, and they have different requirements that they have to comply with. For example, if they're getting a permit to fix their house, or if they're selling their house. So I think consistency of the ordinances is something that should definitely be addressed. As far as consolidation, as Doug says, I think there's some significant savings that can and should be made with consolidation. It's been studied for a number of years, and in several instances, I think it's something that continues to be worth studying, and I would support it.
Thank you. Mary?
Consolidation it has been a hot button issue when it comes to sanitary districts. On the one level, I think that we should consider consolidating, because obviously we could get economies of scale. You know, I don't know if you know this, but Marin County has something like 0.07% of the population, and we have something like 17% of the special districts in California. So we have a lot of special districts in Marin County. In terms of efficiencies, I think it would make a lot of sense, but when you look at what happened in Southern Marin and with LAFCO, really the smaller sanitary districts than exist in Central Marin and that feed into CMSA, and smaller sanitary districts than the Ross Valley Sanitary District, we're not able to be consolidated despite a big outside political push to do so. So I don't think anything that's going to happen anytime soon formally. What I'm really pleased about is that the management of the Ross Valley Sanitary District is working so much better with the other member agencies of the Central Marin Sanitation Agency that we do have agreements to share resources, to share trucks, to share information. And so we're getting some of those efficiencies without technically being consolidated into one. The district had done studies before I was elected. We did another study since I've been on the board, and it showed that out over a period of time, if the members of the Central Marin Sanitation Agency, if the sanitary districts that feed into it were consolidated into one, there would be the potential for savings. And if I'm remembering correctly, that was not even with one general manager. So I think it's something that we should look at more.
Thank you. Next, Scott will be answering first. What is your position on Measure AA?
I'm for it. I think it's a wise use of funds. It's not an imposition of any great weight on any homeowner. The objectives are appropriate, and I think it's good measure.
Thank you. Mary?
I'll agree with that. It's not directly within the Ross Valley Sanitary District's purview, but I would agree.
If you'll remind me, AA is the seawater and yeah.
Wetlands.
Thank you. Yeah. No, I'm not in favor, and let me tell you why. It's not a significant burden, and it has great attributes, and I fully support it as long as there's representation on the board. This is what I oppose, and I've always opposed, and I've worked very hard, and I've been known for this. This policy or preponderance to create these agencies that aren't going to be answering to the people. Metropolitan Transportation Commission is the perfect example of that. We have limited representation on ABAG, and we've changed that agency. And again, as I said earlier, I actually think maybe it's more than that, but it's perfectly possible that one of the reasons that MTC wants to take over ABAG is because they are represented by towns and councils and mayors, and MTC is not. So no, Measure A needs to be rewritten. I don't like the way the organization is put together. I like everything else about the bill. The cost is not onerous. It has great goals. But I don't support agencies that don't have a representation because they get out of control and then they go off on tangents that they weren't designed to in the first place because somebody in the organization has their own agenda. We need an agenda that is focused by the council members, members of the community, and representatives that are appointed by councils and mayors and our legislators. And that's not what this does. So I'm opposed to it.
Thank you. Let's see. Where are we? Mary gets to answer the next question first. How are the district's relations with the Central Marin Sanitary Agency, of which it's the member?
The district's relationship is good, vastly improved over 4 years ago. I sit on the Central Marin Sanitation Agency board right now as an appointee from Ross Valley Sanitary District. The Central Marin Sanitation Agency has folks appointed to serve on its board from each of the districts that feed into it, and then one member from the city of Larkspur, which is technically part of the Ross Valley Sanitary District. So, we work collaboratively and cooperatively. When I ran 4 years ago, one of my campaign points was that we should not be litigating against the Central Marin Sanitation Agency because the Ross Valley Sanitary District actually pays half of the expenses of the Central Marin Sanitation Agency, including its legal fees. So we were paying lawyers to fight each other. During the past year, we've settled the lawsuit finally that we had with the Central Marin Sanitation Agency. We sometimes have conflict, but it should certainly be resolved within the structure of the Joint Powers Association, the JPA, that formed the Central Marin Sanitation Agency, and on the board. So I think the relationship is dramatically improved.
Doug?
Better, absolutely, and absolutely a change. The email I referred to earlier in the debate that was written by Brett Richards and was extremely unprofessional was written to the Central Marin Sanitation Agency. and Greg's done a great job of changing that, and I think it's going in the right direction. I think it's fine. I appreciate the hard work that's been done by the current board and by the current general manager, and Mary's absolutely right. The 50% of the cost of Ross Valley Sanitary goes to Central Marin, and paying to sue them. And this is what I've said from the start. With due respect to my friends who are lawyers, and both my parents were lawyers, I adore lawyers. I think we have enough lawyers, and I think we need some business people on this board. Enough suing, enough of that, and this board has changed that, so I want to be very clear about that. And this general manager has changed that. I just want to keep that direction going.
Thank you. Scott?
Enough lawyers? I can't imagine. Perish the thought. No, seriously, I don't think there's much debate here. The litigation that Doug and Mary have referred to between CMSA and the district was a drain on both, and a disproportionately great burden on the district that really didn't accomplish a tremendous amount in terms of positive result. So the termination and successful completion of that litigation is certainly a good thing for everyone in the district. And it obviously allows the district to focus its administrative and managerial energies in a more positive direction. From everything I can see, the elimination of that legal impediment has enabled the two agencies to have far better relationship and cooperate without the impediment of that dispute. So from what I can see, and based on Mary's representations to us here today as well, it seems like things are in good shape.
Thank you. That ends the questions. Now the candidates will be making closing statements of 1.5 minutes or 90 seconds each, and we'll start with Mary.
Thank you. As I said in my opening statement, I've been proud to serve for the past 4 years as your elected representative on the Ross Valley Sanitary District Board of Directors. I've strengthened and professionalized the management of the Ross Valley Sanitary District. We've reduced sewage spills through development of an infrastructure asset management plan. We've reduced litigation costs, and we've improved human resources management. We've established the RVSD as an emerging leader in wastewater management in California. If reelected, I promise to continue this work to modernize RVSD's infrastructure and operations. We must continue to aggressively replace aging pipes, improve our electronic monitoring of sewage flow, and upgrade our pump stations to bring our sewage collection system up to date. This will ensure that the Ross Valley remains free of hazardous sewage spills. This will protect our public health and prevent future regulatory fines. And finally, I really want to work to improve the public knowledge of the wastewater system and the impact that might have on water conservation. I think most people are really unaware of what proper wastewater management means to the public health and the role it could play in our water challenges. I will work to better educate the public about our wastewater system and its costs and benefits and challenges, and the potential of wastewater recycling in addressing our state's water crisis. I respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you. Next, Scott.
Thank you. Appreciate your tuning in today. I don't think everyone in the Ross Valley Sanitation District takes the time to become informed of the issues in this campaign. And so, first of all, I think on behalf of all three of the candidates here, we appreciate your time toward that goal. I seek to serve on the board of RVSD because I'd like to bring a community homeowner perspective to the board. It's true I have 30 years of legal experience, which I think gives me an understanding of the way government works, having served with local communities, served as counsel for various cities, and even city attorney at various points in my career. In addition, I've got the real estate background and business understanding that from representing homeowners and buyers of homes brings a perspective to the district board that I think would enable me to make a contribution. But aside from the professional or technical background that I bring, I think I have a perspective from the standpoint of a homeowner in Marin County in the district. I understand what some of the interests are of people who are living in the district to have their rates kept at a low level. I understand why it's important to have a grant program and a loan program for the sewer lateral ordinance so that hardships on homeowners are eliminated or minimized. And I'd like to bring those perspectives to the board. I'd appreciate your support.
Thank you. Doug?
Well, thank you very much. And first off, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this debate, for the viewers for taking the time to watch it, and to my colleagues here for joining me in this debate. Again, my theme here is governance. I have worked with staff on various boards and councils, and I work very well with them, but the job is to govern, and that's what I'm looking to do, and that's where I feel I could help on this board. It's the job of governance that didn't happen 10 years ago on the Ross Valley Sanitary District, and recent changes have been fantastic. They need to keep going. And the fact of the matter is, the public still has a bad taste in its mouth, and there really was something that stank at that building, and there's no piping in the building. So it really was a lack of governance. I think Mary's done a great job. I think the current board members have done great jobs. But I'm going to not just listen to staff. Greg is a fantastic guy, but the board's job is to oversee him. And that's why, for example, I can't support AA, the measure you spoke about, and that's why I fought ABAG and MTC. I don't want agencies that don't listen to the electeds who represent the people. So I enjoy public service. I enjoy doing it very much. So I thank you for your time, and I ask you to be kind enough to vote for Doug Kelly for Ross Valley Sanitary District on June 7th. Thank you.
Thank you. That ends the Candidates Forum. For more information, you may want to go to the League's votersedge.org website and enter your street address and zip code, where you will be able to see your own ballot with links to the candidates, the issues, ballot measures, and information about the voting process itself. We also have important election resource material on our website at marinlwv.org. The League of Women Voters welcomes both men and women members, and we hope you will join us in our important work. Thank you again to the participants in this debate, and Margie Eller, the timekeeper, and to you, the voters, for joining us.